So a woman is upset, and this is a little bit of a long one, so it's probably like 4 to 5 minutes long. So I'm gonna play this out to get the full context, though. But a woman is basically saying that she's upset that her son, who's 24 years old, is thinking about voting for Republican, and she's looking for help on how to convince him to do otherwise. Check this out.
If you are the mom, the aunt, the cousin, the grandma, the sister, the friend of a black male who is of voting age, I desperately need you to watch this video. If you're not, you can keep scrolling. But if you are, I need you to watch this video and I need your advice. I am a mother of a 24-year-old handsome black male who lives down the south. I live up north, but he grew up in a very, you can call it liberal household. My household has always, including my husband, he grew up with a man in the household, a male role model. Both of us are educated. We've always advocated and been activists for the rights of marginalized and oppressed people, to include people of black, brown, Muslim, Asian, people with disabilities, LGBTQIA, etc., etc., etc. We've talked about rights as we have a nonprofit. We do lots of things in the community that supports the politics and the policies of Vice President Kamala Harris. I even remember the day that Barack Obama won the election in 2008, and my son was 8 years old. And the very next day he got up and put on a suit and tie. He wanted to wear that to school because he saw himself in that moment that he could be the president of the United States. However, in the past several months, he has been giving me strong indications, although he has not said it out loud, that he wants to vote for a former president, Donald Trump, in this election. We are constantly talking him off of that ledge. We are constantly defending Vice President Kamala Harris and reinforcing what we experienced under the oppressive conditions, the police brutality, etc., that we experienced under the presidency of Donald Trump. We have to continue to reinforce Project 2025 and what that's going to mean for him as a black man in the future. But for some reason, about once a week, we have to talk him off that ledge. I'm not sure what's going on with our young black man. He grew up in a very privileged household. He has had all of his needs met, and maybe because he hasn't had to go a day without health care, he hasn't had to go a day without food and his basic necessities. If his human rights or his educational rights or whatever rights that he is entitled to has ever been breached, we have always been there to advocate for him. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that privileged life that he has experienced of a young black man has somehow aligned with Donald Trump's privilege. And somehow he sees himself more in him than he does Vice President Kamala Harris. But more importantly, not more importantly, but what really keeps me up at night is that as a black woman, I have always made it a priority to show him the strength of a black woman. I started out as a single mother with him. I went to law school with him. His first day of kindergarten was my first day of law school. So he witnessed me struggle through law school. He witnessed me, even after I graduated, start making salaries, the struggle and my rise and my fight through many things throughout my life. And to not see that same strength and determination in another black woman, it has me down. It has me disappointed. It has me wondering, where did I go wrong? Where did my household go wrong? Why am I having to have these conversations? These are just not conversations that I ever pictured having with any child of mine. with anyone, honestly, that shares my bloodline of people. The whole family has advocated for civil rights. I come from Montgomery, Alabama. My whole family was involved in some sort of civil rights movement throughout history. So if you are, again, a black mom, sister, cousin, aunt, whatever, friend, grandma, and you're having to have these same conversations, just let me know. Let me know I'm not alone. Let me know what you're doing, how you're having these conversations, how they're going for you. I need some support, y'all. I do. I need some support. But
All right, so there you go. That's pretty much the gist of it. Thoughts?
That's why that boy is leaving. That woman is nuts. Like, first she said, well, the last thing she said, she was a single mother and she showed him the strength of a black woman. That's probably why he's leaving. Um, the second thing is she kept saying that we instilled this and this and this and that and the third in him. He probably wants to think for himself as a man. He's probably tired of her trying to rule over him instead of just letting him be. And I'm sure the dude that she's married to doesn't get a say with him. So she's probably the only one ruling over him. No male figure, just dude in the house. So he wants to get away from that. That 22-year-old is just fleeing. Good for
24.
him.
24.
24? Oh, he should have been gone. I would have been gone away from that.
And she said something about them being, when she said oppressed, she said we. And I'm
Yeah,
sitting here looking at what she has on. I'm looking at the inside of her car.
yeah.
I'm listening to her say how privileged her son is. And I'm
Mhm.
like, when were you oppressed? Like, when did you feel?
The same time Kamala was oppressed.
Well, and then this is the other thing, because like she, everything she said, I'm really trying to understand. So what does that therefore mean? Does that, are we in a space where we're still fighting for our civil rights? Are we Trump trying to take them away? Is Kamala, like, I'm just trying to understand how people think. Is it because we fought for that we should therefore pick, we should vote for anybody who has any black blood in them? Or is she saying because it's Trump, those will be taken away? Like, is it, we should, if it wasn't Trump and it was another white man, would it be an issue? Like, is it a Trump thing? Is it a white man thing? Is it a white woman versus white black woman thing? What is the real?
Oh, you don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to have a.
It's all of it.
You want to
I'm
have.
just trying
You
to really.
do you want to get real, or do you want to just like? Are we gonna have a real conversation or no?
I'm always for the real conversation
Oh,
because,
because most black people are racist.
Yes.
oh, for sure,
That's why.
for sure.
That's
That
why I said that's
the
all of
minute
it.
that listen, the minute that they kicked open the door and they voted Obama in was the minute that you then seen racism really kicking a high gear for black people. The minute. Because now everything is based off of identity politics. Because prior to that, remember, before Obama became president, there was a lot of older black people that are from a certain generation that said that I never thought that I'd see this in my lifetime. Once the door was kicked open, then it became, oh, they gonna take us back or this and that and so on and so forth. And so anybody that doesn't align with selecting a DEI hire or something like that going forward, if you don't see some level of representation in their cabinet, in their VP pick or something like that, then you represent the old guard. If you don't see somebody that's gay, if you don't see somebody that's black, if you don't see somebody that's something, then you represent the old guard, which
So
was one of
what?
the reasons why I
Oh,
was so
sorry.
critical for, no, you cool. Which is one of the reasons why I was so critical for Biden to pick Kamala Harris in order for him to win the office. So
But what
the fight,
are
the
we?
fight isn't about your civil liberties. The fight is about, come on, come on. That's the real. That's just
What
the.
are people what are people really expecting from voting for someone black versus white? Like, cuz this is almost starting to
No,
feel
no, no,
like
no, no,
white.
no, 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 no.
This is
Nothing.
You have to be a black liberal. You got to remember, it's not just being black. It's not any of that. Because if that's the case, then look,
Condoleezza.
we're all out. We're listen. They're not looking for representation in the Republican Party. They don't support black people that are a part of the Republican Party. We don't even get supported in our own families if we decide that we want to lean more conservative in our voting. We then get outcast. You got to be both. You got to be liberal and you got to be of some sort of weird minority for them to be accepting of you.
But
so
Anton,
let's say
but
go
the
ahead.
crazy part about that is if you look at it, like somebody like Ben Carson, okay, should be the example.
Exactly.
He comes from Detroit. He comes from the hood. He was raised, I think he said a single mother and taught him how to read. He's the first person to first doctor to do a certain type of surgery. But if you look at Barack Obama, and mind you, he comes from a black family. Okay, a black family, two black parents.
Yeah.
Barack Obama never raised with black people, don't know black people, ain't been around them, didn't do anything as a junior senator, gets put up there as the nominee, right? Has never voted for nothing because he voted present the entire time he was in the Senate. Just present, not yay or nay. And then he is the epitome of a black person. Mind you, he has nothing in common, but then Ben Carson is Oreo and Coon and all the other stuff.
I'm not even against being raised in a different environment or any of that type of stuff. Because again, I'm cool with anybody selecting and going with and dating and talking
Right,
to.
but they talking about identity politics. Ben Carson would identify more with them than Barack Obama would.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm adding into the conversation and saying that it's. I agree, and it sounds silly. It sounds silly. The reason why, look, it's because Obama, when he came out and said what he said to black people about whatever it is, about the way that we voting, he became more divisive because basically he drew a line in the sand and said, and then listen, he said, and if you a brother, that's what he led with.
But that's my thing is like what okay, all right. I'm gonna sip the Kool-Aid for a second. All right. I'm a liberal now. I'm a Democrat. I'm going for her. What am I expecting out of this deal that's special to me as a black woman? Because it almost feels like Anton, your family members, or like I'm just making a joke here with that part, but it almost feels like people who are like, such and such made it, so now he's going to give us money because he made it. Okay, so she gets into the role of presidency. Then what happens for me? What do I get from her because I'm black and a woman that I wouldn't get from Trump or someone else? That's what I'm trying.
But is anybody saying that they voting for Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is so great? Or is anybody saying that they voting for Kamala Harris because they don't like Trump?
They are mushing like that. The lady who was just talking, it seems like because she doesn't want her son to pick Trump, she's boosting the reasons on why you should vote for Kamala, which makes it difficult because the reasons are not substantial. They don't make sense, especially since y'all, to Mika's point, since you're playing this race card so hard. This woman has a white husband. I don't have an issue with that, but I find it very difficult that you keep pressing me on voting for this white man when the half black, whatever percentage black woman has a white husband and white stepkids.
Which is
She
cool
can't.
with me. And I'm okay
No,
with that.
I have no issue with that. I'm saying if
But
you're if
it's hypocritical.
it's very hypocritical because if you're gonna play the race card, then
Right.
technically you shouldn't want to vote for her either.
Yep. Yep.
But that's what Anton's saying. She is a liberal, so by proxy, she gets a pass. She can lock black men up she gets a pass. She can say what she wants to black women. She gets a pass. I mean, for if it was honestly, I don't even know if it's about being liberal because if they wanted a black woman, Stacey Abrams was right there. She's been doing all that work, campaigning twice. She did it for Joe Biden, and now she's doing it for Kamala.
The
They
thing
don't
is,
want a
it's not
black.
even
They don't
about.
really want a black woman. They like they want quote unquote representation. But let's be clear. It's more than to me. It's more than just racism. Racist people in the black community. There is also an identity thing going on because Barack Obama looks one way, Kamala looks one way. You have people that look a certain way that they will be okay with promoting up. And it's always been that way. If you look at Booker T. Washington, if you look at W.E.B. Du Bois, like what do all these people have in common? Right.
No,
And so if they really wanted that black woman, they would have put Stacey Abrams up there. She don't fit what they want as representation. And they're only looking for representation
no. The
that they
more
think
and
can
more I
compete
think
with
about
white
this,
people.
and we talk about it, and the more and more like I keep seeing things about voting and what's going on in politics. This shit ain't even. It's not. It don't stop at just identity and all that stuff. This shit is about programming.